Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated podcast, where we take animation seriously. I'm Beatriz, Mourad, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And April Collins.
Hi there.
Today we will be discussing the 5th episode of Fruits Basket, I've Been Fooling Myself. Warning, spoilers for everything that has aired up to this point. Some of us have read the manga, some of us have seen the early 2000s version of the anime, but we won't be spoiling anything beyond episode 5, so don't worry. So please watch episode 5. It's great. Find out more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes, on Spotify, which is new. You can find a link on the website, or on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. All right. Tell me, did you guys like this episode? What are your general thoughts, Michelle?
Oh my goodness.
Exactly.
I just want to say, when I realized this was gonna be the whole she has to go back home drama hashtag episode, I was kind of like, okay, but this is only the 5th episode of the show. Are there really enough stakes to pull this off and have it feel genuine, like they'd really care if she was gone? And the answer is absolutely yes. This is definitely my favorite episode so far, and I literally cried twice when I was watching it. Both times Tonu cried, I cried by proxy, and it was so good. And wow, Tonu's dad's side of the family is the worst. Oh my gosh. This was such a nice episode, though, and such a nice culmination of how much of a difference she's clearly made in those two boys' lives at this point.
Yeah,
and they literally can't be okay as soon as she's gone, and they both grapple with it in different ways based on their personalities. And very good resolution. I'm so happy for her. She finally got picked in the Fruits Basket. Now I know what Fruits Basket means in the context of the story, and that was very heartwarming too. So very good episode, lots of emotions, but very good.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one who just instantly cries when Tonu cries.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not alone there. April, what about you? What did you think?
Well, I also cried, so I'm glad all
Yay.
3 of us could have had a cry together. Within our own homes, watching the same thing. Because it was very emotional, and it's interesting what will elicit that type of emotional response out of, I guess, anyone, but myself especially. Because some days I'm this should be making me cry and I'm not crying, and then other things I'm just I'm instantly in tears. But because I feel so heavily connected to Toru, I started crying even before that, because I was just so upset that her dad's side of the family is just so mean to her, and for no reason whatsoever. And I think that's the part that gets me the most, is that there's literally no reason for them to be this mean and this cold to her. And I'm sure we'll get more into that later. But what I did is that we kind of had, we sort of played with the format of this episode a little bit. And we kind of had the first part of it was all from Toru's perspective. And then the second half was from Yuki and Kyo's perspective. And so I really liked that we were kind of, I guess, getting a little bit more inside of their heads. And we even had a sort of Shigure internal monologue kind of thing. It was one sentence, but it was still kind of nice, I guess, to be I guess that we're getting the chance to sort of connect with these characters in that way, and not just with Toru. So I really liked that. And then also I have to give it up to the people who I guess did all of the animation and everything like that, because those city scenes or whatever, when they were looking for the house, were just so beautiful. And then they were also from places, real life places in Japan, and I was even more astounded, seeing the comparison pictures. I was wow, this is amazing. This is why I love animation. So
Yeah, I agree. I think even just the animation, just in terms of their faces and their expressions, Toru looked so much cuter this episode than she's already cute, but for some reason, her just her face just screamed like I just wanted to squeeze her cheeks. I was like, why are you so cute this episode? More so than normal. Like, what is going on? That was
she's in her winter uniform. That's
yes,
why.
That's why. I just was just like, you look like a little puppy. Like, what is like that? You must be protected. Maybe it's because she was so vulnerable this episode that they were like, we got to really make her cute to make people really feel it. But no, yes, it was. I mean, I agree. This is
anime team's agenda.
Yes,
we gotta really make them cry.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think this may be for me my favorite episode so far. And it's not as funny as say last episode, but it's definitely has this emotional weight and does a lot of heavy lifting in terms of the characters. And I feel like this show is going to be, it's not like nothing happens in it, but it's kind of going to be kind of like another anime that I love that's called Maria-sama ga Miteru, which the running joke on that show is that nothing happens, but it's so dramatic. Whereas with this one, things happen, but it is so slow that it kind of feels like you're kind of like, oh, like, it doesn't feel like a lot of time has passed. It doesn't feel like a lot has happened, but a lot has happened. And it's just emotionally, it's just such a fulfilling show to watch that it's so great. Whenever I'm like, it brings a smile to my face. It's a wonderful, wonderful episode for a wonderful, wonderful show. But let's talk about this opening before we get to the like opening credits. They have like a cold opening of sorts. There's not really a lot of music, and it's just like not even like sound, like just like this kind of just like background sounds, but it's just it was kind of jarring how it just seems so serious. It was just like a very cold kind of thing where it just establishes that they're not joking around. Like she's leaving, and then we get this kind of very smooth but somewhat like very jarring cut to a flashback with the mom, and it's we get to see like Toru being like, we get to see the theme of the episode, which is the problem that Toru can't be selfish. That's the biggest issue with her, that she can't struggle with it. And it was such an effective way, not only to set up the tone, but to set up the point of the episode, like the emotional problem and arc of the episode, and also the just in terms of, again, with animation, again, that transition to the flashback was so well done. I think that just kind of shows you they're really firing on all cylinders in it. I was just wondering, what did you guys think of this opening in particular before they play the opening song?
I liked it. I thought, I agree with you that it did a really great job of establishing the tone of this episode, because up until this point, everything's been really like lighthearted, and, fun. And I mean, there's been serious, like touches of seriousness. But like this one, like really like greatly established, like we're not like you said, like we're not joking around in this episode. Like this is what's happening. And I will say that I agree that I guess the transition to the flashback was slightly jarring because it was so smooth. Like, yeah. I almost wish that it had not been that smooth, because the first time I watched it, I was like, wait, what is going on? Like, I literally had a moment.
Disorienting.
Yeah, it was very disorienting. And so, because it was also so smooth, and that I was like, wait, why, what is happening? I literally did, I had to stop for a moment and then go back because I thought I missed something too. And so, it was very disorienting. But I upon the second watch, I was like, okay, this is really, really nicely transitioned into a flashback, because sometimes flashbacks are just like straight cuts, and it's not as successful. And I understand why you're doing it in that way, is because you're really trying to establish that you're within a flashback. But I think that it was nice that we were sort of setting that tone, especially because whenever we have a flashback with her mom, it's we're getting what we're supposed to get out of this episode. And I think that it's kind of nice to get that ahead of time and then seeing the journey as to how we get there. Whereas every other episode that we've kind of learned a lesson from mom, we don't get it until the end. And even though they're sort of straightforward with what is happening and up until we get to the flashback, then like, I just think that this is kind of a little bit nice. And again, it kind of plays with like how they were sort of messing with like the format of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, like, in the previous flashbacks in the show, you're right. They may not be as smooth, but they're very well introduced, where there's either a voiceover or like someone saying like, well, my mom used to say, and then there's like some like fancy kind of like, the frame actually looks kind of a little dreamish. There's this kind of dream like quality to these flashbacks. So it's like very clear. Whereas with this one, it is jarring. And I think that was very much intentional. They wanted you to be disoriented.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the director, the
like,
storyboarder, they wanted you to feel like, oh, wait, what's about to happen? But yeah, Michelle, what were you going to say?
I like, honestly, I hadn't thought about the flashbacks until we're talking about it, but I feel like one of it served like several purposes, right? Like the first is just like to set up like the lesson that is going to be learned this episode for Toru. She's going to be able to finally vocalize what she wants, which is like all I want for her. So I'm so happy about that. But it also, like especially because this episode gets so into her father's family's perception of her mother as this like shady, violent person. The flashback does a real service to establishing at the very beginning, like, no, she's like a great mom. She really cared about her daughter. Like, as far as we can rely on Toru as an objective person, she's actually wonderful. So we're on Toru's side with her mom. And I feel like the last thing actually the flashback does is like, because the reason it's so smooth seeming is because like she starts a conversation in the present day kitchen with like her mom from the past. And I wonder if the reason they did that is because like she's in the same place she was in that flashback. Like she's in a kitchen and she's also doing a similar activity. Like she's deciding to cook when it's actually like a very generous thing for her to do, because like, you know, like in the present day, like the Soma family's like, nah, it's your last day. Like, let's go eat out. And she's like, no, I'm going to cook for you. Like she's being very selfless. And in the flashback, she's cooking while she's like already sick for her mom. And her mom's like, yo, like you shouldn't be out of bed. You're sick. What are you doing? And she's like, no, I wanted to do a nice thing. So I feel like it's that kind of like both those moments work together for a flashback, because they're illustrating that Toru's just this kind of person, and she tends to be this selfless in general. And that's why like her mom being able to tell her like, look, it's okay to be selfish sometimes, like you can live a little, is so nice in juxtaposition to that. So I guess that's like all the things the flashback could mean. Makes sense to me. I love it. I think it works great as a narrative thing.
Yeah, totally. And the show is very, like, some people try not to lean in on flashbacks, and the show is like, nah, I don't care.
Nah, son.
No, I'm gonna do what I want, and I'm like, great. It's a good device.
It's a great device when you do it well. And I think the show like has already established that it can do flashbacks and be successful, because sometimes like a show that relies on too heavily on flashbacks, like we sort of get over it and like we don't take as much away from it. And so like especially in this episode, it's extremely successful because we do get to like see like Toru's mom being like super loving and caring, and then like we cut to like her, you know, her family-in-law's like vision, I guess, idea of her, and we're like, yeah, but that's not it, you know, like maybe that was her at one point in time, and if it was, she's obviously grown, but you haven't seen that, and you're never going to get to, and you don't deserve to either. So
right, yeah, totally. All right, well, moving on. We do finally learn about the title. Every time we talk, everyone's like, "Where's the fruit? Where's the fruit basket?"
Are the fruit going to battle baskets?
Exactly.
Yes, they turn into fruit. That's their secret curse.
secret curse. It's that exactly. Yes, they can't eat
Theo
fruit.
turns into fruit. That's what happened. That's his true form.
Yes. But yeah, so. It starts. It's another flashback. Well, kind of a flashback. This one's more like this one's more like what we normally see with Fruits Basket, and it is a bit more dream flashback because we don't see the faces of people. It's just very much like, I don't know. It's very creepy in a way. But leading up to it, we have this image, we have this like this still of Toru like smiling while looking at her mom's picture, thinking how silly she is for believing she could become part of the Soma family. And how painful was that smile? Let's just take a moment to just, that smile was so painful. Like she's just eyes shut, smiling like without showing any teeth. And I'm just like, no, baby, no. It was so sad. And I just need to point that out. But we do finally get it. It's a game. Fruits Basket is a game that they used to play in school and I guess in preschool or pre-K or I don't know. And we're shown that boys suck because for some reason, they just wouldn't pick. They're like, okay, we're going to play Fruits Basket. I guess it's like, what is it? Duck, Duck, Goose kind of similar?
But like a harsher game because the goose is the one who gets picked, but the rice ball does not get to play.
Right. Because everyone's like, oh, like, you're going to be a fruit. You're going to be fruit. Oh, but not you, Toru. You're going to be a rice ball. And it's like, and sweet Toru's like, oh, rice balls are delicious. Yay. But it's like not realizing that that means that they're not going to pick her. And it's like, and she even said like, boys always used to pick on me. And it's like, is it because they liked you? And that's a horrible thing. I hate that.
Beatriz, it's not because she followed it up with like, I suppose like it was meant to be mean or something. So clearly we're not even supposed to think it's like a misdirected flirting. Like they singled her out for some reason to pick on because they didn't like her.
Well, here's the thing. And if like say it was meant to be like, oh, like maybe suggest that it was because they like her. I like the fact that I wish they had kind of leaned into like framing like, look, for the girl, that's not a pleasant thing. It's still being picked on. It's still bullying. You're still bullying her. I don't care why you're doing it. If you're being mean to someone, there is no excuse. You're just being a horrible person. Doesn't matter your age. Like, that's not how you're supposed to treat someone. And this poor girl, all she wanted was to be told onigiri and have a chance. And she was not given that chance.
I honestly, like, love this. Like, not that I wish Toru any pain in her childhood, but I mean, I feel like Toru could have become a kind of not like a trap for a character, but like she's so pure and so nice. It's like who could not like her except for like the silly girls at school who are like obviously jelly of her good luck with Yuki. Having her have like a kind of actually like tough childhood where like maybe she did kind of stick out from other kids and was sort of an odd duck. That is like actually like a great part of her character because like that's probably why she can connect to Kyo and Yuki now because they also are their own weird odd ducks. So having that kind of shared experience, I feel like is actually a really good part of this backstory we learn about her. So I'm glad that it ended up like, not like I'm glad it ended up that way, but like it makes such satisfying sense narratively that I like the choice.
I was going to say, it especially helps, like, establish that connection that she feels with Kyo. Because, like, we already knew that she's, like, the year of the cat is her favorite, and she wanted to be a cat and everything. And, like, that's very, like, well and very, like, endearing and everything. But, like, for her to have been picked on, and essentially in the same way that Kyo has been dealing with all of his life, like, that's, like it's very like, wow, like you have sort of a shared experience kind of thing. Because I mean, not that like hers is as bad as Kyo's, but like it's still pretty like, you know, traumatizing for a kid, you know, to like there's this game going on and like you're literally like not allowed to play because some boy sucks or whatever, or anybody sucks for that instance. But like that's just like, that's so heartbreaking.
Yeah. It also explains
not
even
a good
like
point.
Yeah, I mean, it also explains not even her connection with Kyo, but just her connection with the year of the cat. Because remember, when was she told that story of the cat?
Well, she looked like the same age.
Exactly, it was that age.
That's
so it must
true.
when she must have heard it, and then she must have really connected with it because she was being like isolated at school and being bullied by her class. So it's just kind of and this is how you can tell that flashback sequences and backstory is being told well, is that even if it's like recurring, when it's used well is when you can keep on adding layers and layers to previous moments, and suddenly we get this greater understanding of a character. It's not just like word vomit and then move forward. It's like, no, we get this better sense of why someone does what they does and why people are able to connect the way that they do. And it's just another example of why this show is so great.
It's so nice because again, like it could have been like, oh, Toru, she of course she would want to be the year of the cat because she doesn't want anyone to be picked on. But like, no, this is like personal.
Yeah,
like it's not like she just like loves cats. It's because she's like, oh no, the cat has been ostracized, and I feel that to my core from the Fruits Basket game.
Yeah,
I will sympathize with you, cat.
I wonder if also, like, her mom told her that story. Like, maybe she told her mom about, like, what had happened. And as a result of that, her mom told her that story. Right. Like, just because, like, she does seem to be the exact same age. And so it would make sense that, like, her mom would try and tell her, like, a story to make her feel better. And then, like, also turn it around to be like, see, look, like, you love the year of the cat, which means someone, like, will also love you, too. Or, like, you know, like, you'll have friends or whatever. Right. So I feel like it would have been like a good like teaching moment for her mom, which is then of course connects us even further into this beautiful story.
Yeah. I mean, I will say like her mom didn't, she just told her the story, so it just ends with the cat being sad. So I'm trying to think like, and she wasn't expecting, and she wasn't expecting Toru to connect so much with the cat. So I'm just like, what lesson was she planning to tell her? I was like, I don't know. It's interesting. So you guys are satisfied with this reveal? You guys are pleased that it's like, it's a game. It's not like more, you're fine that it's like, it's not like on the nose, like, no, like, it's because, like, we end up, like, the last shot of the series is a close-up of a Fruits Basket. No, you actually just, you enjoy this review.
Oh, can you imagine?
Like, there's the Fruits Basket. It's been here all this time.
They pan over to the table, and there it is. It's like what is it, the fruit bouquet thing? Yeah. Edible arrangement.
Oh, my goodness. Imagine. But yeah, have you guys played a game like this before? Like that, for me, like Duck Duck Goose was the closest equivalent. But I
feel like because that seems a lot nicer. Because I feel like this game's all about singling somebody out to not get to play instead of one person who gets to chase other people.
I don't think so. I think like the guy just said onigiri just to be annoying.
He made it up?
Yeah, I think he just made it up.
The onigiri isn't even part of it.
Yeah, I think he just was like, I don't want to pick you, so I'm just going to make you not a fruit. I think that's what it was. I think usually it's just you pick fruit and then you yell one of them and then everybody has to like, I guess like musical chairs in a way too, where I'm assuming where you stand, it's kind of like in a circle, you stand in the middle and then you scream apple and then everyone who's an apple like runs and you try and get like a seat. I don't know. I'm assuming that's how you play this game.
I don't know if that checks out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like I don't know if this is like a game, it's an actual game in real life. Like, I don't know if anyone's like grew up in Japan, like if that's like a game that you've actually played, like let us know.
I want to learn how to play it.
Not only that, but I want to know if it was something that like the writer like made up for the show, because that might have been it too.
That's true.
We're curious. But yeah, so Yuki and Kyo obviously are not reacting well to Toru moving out. Both are moping, and decide simultaneously basically to go after Toru with their own set of flashbacks. There are a lot of flashbacks in this episode. How long has it been since Toru has moved in? Like, do we know?
I think at least a month. Like at least?
At the very least a month. Because the other thing, I guess that's kind of a big giveaway as to how long she's been there is because, and I'm bringing it up again, but I noticed that they went from their summer uniforms to their like fall winter uniforms. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, okay, so some time has like obviously passed.
Right.
But I couldn't, like, I guess we wouldn't necessarily know, like, how long. And it also, like, seems like they have, like, a really good sort of, like, routine going on, too. And so, like, enough time for, like, a routine to be established and, like, for them to, I guess, kind of just be used to it at that point.
Right. No, yeah. And question, did the culture festival pass? Like, we're not gonna see it?
I don't know anymore. It might come back next episode, but it has been 2 whole episodes, which feels like a long time in this show's chronology, so. Yeah.
Especially because we don't know how time is passing between episodes, like.
German boy hasn't come back yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. That's why I was like, it kind of left it as if, like, he was gonna show up.
Like the festival
at the festival, not only at the very next episode, but like he saw the flyer for the festival. So I was assuming maybe that's where he's going to show up next.
There was no date on the flyer either, so
true.
we don't know.
That is true. That is very true. That is very true. But okay, so you guys, did you guys feel it was believable that Kyo and Yuki were already so affected by Toru leaving? Like, was that?
Yeah,
do you think it was already established? Right. No. Totally. Totally.
We saw the moments that stuck to them.
Totally.
Like they're defining moments in their relationship.
Yeah, defining moments.
Well, and not just for like them, but for like Toru too. So like, because it was like in those moments that she was just like, oh, like I'm gonna take up an interest in gardening, and I'm gonna take up an interest in like martial arts, so that she could better connect with them. And so, like, it makes sense that like her making that effort to like take an interest in their interests would also be like sort of like I guess a call to for them as well.
Right.
I would be.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And also, there's this like really great line of a book I read where it's in reference to like freshman year in college, but I feel like it fits with adolescence too, where it's like a couple weeks or like months in young people life, like in early adulthood and adolescence, like that's forever. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like everything's happening like you can get very attached to people very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, it's very this is the age range where like relationships can become very intense very quickly. So it also makes sense. So let's move on to Toru's family, which is there.
I just have one thing to say right off the bat. I do not look forward to that woman's son becoming a police officer. Because if he can say such gross things to his relative, can you imagine him being on the street? Like, what a menace, frankly.
Yeah.
Wow. I do not want him to pass his exams. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, speaking of that, one, it's revealed that her aunt had like a private investigator looking into Toru, and she explains that it's because her mom had this kind of sketchy past. So did she know at one point Toru was living in a tent?
Oh, she must have, right? She did that for like a month or so.
Why didn't she do anything about that?
Right?
Like, what's wrong with her?
Like that was like strike one, and then her strike two was that her aunt thought that Toru had like an older boyfriend / sugar daddy, and that was like okay. And what kind of like bothered my mind was that Toru wasn't even like denying it; she was just like staying quiet, and it was really. And this is a great kind of one of the reasons why this episode kind of surpasses the others for me and is the top of my list of best episodes so far, is because the attention to detail. The moment that they start kind of in a way bad talking Toru's mom, you see that kind of anime trick where they cover Toru's eyes,
with the bangs,
and then and she like tightens her grip on like on her bag or on her shirt, and it's like it's those little instances where it's like that's what makes all the difference. It's like it's the body language and them taking the time, the production crew of the show taking the time to actually animate those moments is so key. And this guy, so like he basically says, quote, "Those people didn't do indecent things to you, did they?" And it's like, is he threatening her? Is he like insinuating? Okay, is he being rude and crossing a line, or is he actually like being suggestive and being like sexually like trying to assault her in a way, like suggesting like
no,
is totally
that that's what he's
implication?
doing. Because like he's smiling and his tone, like it's very like like wink winky, which is like
very
super gross
too.
Yeah, he like gets all up in her face when he does it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, are they indecent to you?
Yeah.
It's like he's picturing it. He's picturing the things that could have gone on. And that alone.
It made me feel dirty. Like for Toru and for myself.
It made Yuki and Kyo feel like really gross too. They were like, whoa, this guy.
Hold up.
Yeah. No, totally. And I mean, I will say also, so again, adding to the detail of the show, while this was all happening, like, not only with him, but with, like, since the moment they got in and her aunt was being mean to her and he was being mean to her, like, her other cousin, the girl cousin, was just being, like, annoying. Like, she wasn't being, like...
She wasn't malicious.
Yeah, she wasn't malicious in that way.
I think she was just being, like, a teenager or whatever.
Like, kind of bored. She just crooks grandpa. It's like, no, it's not the mom. That's Toru.
Yeah, exactly.
Times.
But I will say, like, and this is, like, the brilliance of this scene. Throughout it, you see her grandpa with his back to them. Like, you don't see his reaction. He's, like, looking away. So it added a lot of tension for me because I thought, oh, is he, like, is this, like, him being willfully ignorant and ignoring what's about to happen? And, like, ignoring what this guy is doing? Because that's often the case because I don't know what it is with this show and freaking incest, but it continues, and it just continues. And, that's what sometimes that's what happens with families. You'll see, like, if this happens, people will look the other way because they just don't want to deal with it, and they don't want to. And I was about to blow up. I was like, how dare you look away? And then how dare all these people allow this? And nope. What happens? Grandpa smacks him. He smacks him across the face. We hear it.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
And what's crazy is when you see a reaction from the rest of the family. Not when the dude was, like, saying these horrible things to Toru. No, it was when the grandfather smacked them. And that really just kind of shows, again, that they don't consider Toru part of their family. They don't consider, like, it's like... They're like, this is our circle, this is our people, you're an outsider, and we just have to deal with you. And it was just, oh my god, the way the scene was just structured and, like, storyboard and everything, I was just like, it was so good. It was so good. And we'll get to the biggest moment of why it's so good. But, what do you, like, the grandpa, he apologizes for his family. He's like, look, they're just unpleasant people.
Hey, Grandpa. It's like, no, he called you out. That happened.
He was like, did I? He was like, not only was he basically was like, did I stutter? But he was like, did I say something wrong? Like, am I wrong? I wish he would have said,
the real MVP of this episode.
Yeah.
For real. Like, I guess I can kind of forgive him for, I guess, kind of, like, turning away, like, previously. But, like, if he hadn't, like, done something immediately after, like, I guess his grandson, made his comment, is what we're going to call it, or asked his question, then, like, I probably would have been like, wow, like, this family is the worst. And not that they aren't the worst. Like, I think the mom and, like, the cousin or whoever are, like, the real ones to kind of blame in this, and I feel like the female cousin is just sort of, like, sitting on the sidelines. But, like, her grandpa, for real though, and he even tells her, he's like, hey, like, you deserve better than this, like, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't directly say that, but he definitely like through what he said, like, he said to her, like, he definitely is like, hey, like, if you have someplace better you can go, like, please go there. He's not kicking her out. He's just, like, trying to do, like, what's best for her. And he probably understands that she feels obligated to them too, because like,
their family.
Because their family won, and then like they initially took her in and then also invited her back in too. Yeah. So I think that, like, he's just like, hey, like, here is your out. You can have it. Like, obviously, like, this is not going to be a pleasant living situation for you. So, like, don't feel like you're obligated to me. Because I think that she probably feels obligated to him more than any one of those other, like, humans.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that do you think the aunt was including him in, like, knowing, like, did he know what was going to happen leading up to this discussion? Did he know, like, or was that news to him, her revealing
I don't think he necessarily, like, he clearly has an idea that his family isn't the best people, but I feel like Toru's family situations, like, this is the most we kind of get in terms of her relationships to her living family, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like my impression of this was like, okay, like, I didn't even know whose side of the family Grandpa was on until this episode, and this kind of like, okay, they all have gray hair. Her dad had, like, blackish gray hair, so clearly it's his family. Yeah. To me, this says, like, a number of things. One, like, her mom and dad either like he died or they divorced when she was really young. She lived with her mom and probably didn't see her dad's side of the family very much at all. So they really like had no perspective of her, because if they knew her at all, they would know how sweet she was and they'd never suspect all these sketchy things of her. So I feel like there's a lot of ignorance that comes from them. Just like, maybe this is the first time they've literally seen her in like 10 or 12 years. And I feel like that's part of the situation too. Like her mom dies. They don't know her. They didn't like her mom. Maybe they blame her for like things with the dad that they were closer to. Who knows? But clearly there's some bad blood there. They don't want to take her in. They say they don't have enough room. Grandpa's like, no, I'll do it. And then when the house is renovated, they all move into it. I feel like for the grandpa, this is like, he probably hopes that they'll like, you know, keep their feelings about her situation to themselves and like have the air of politeness, but they jump on her the first day and he's like, okay, well, if this is how you're gonna be, like, I think you deserve better. And I really like this from the grandpa, because like if the rest of the family like hated Toru's mom and hate her by proxy, like there's a chance he might have too, because it was, you know, his child that married her. And he steps up for his granddaughter. And I think that, like, it honestly could have gone either way. But the fact that he did step up for her, like, I love him now. Like, good for him. He's way above the rest of his family.
I mean, I will say, like, I kind of wish he had been more like, she is part of our family and you shouldn't be treating her this way. That part of me wanted it to be that reaction. But like, I agree with what you say. I do think it has been established that her father died when she was young. That's why, that has already been established. And I think maybe if her mom had a sketchy past and we do see her kind of having that kind of gangster kind of look to her, that's very similar to Toru's friend, which, by the way, I'm like, is this one of those is this like a Harry Potter situation? Where, you know, like how Snape hated the trio because they put together are basically Lily Potter, you know, because Hermione's the brains and the Muggleborn, and then Harry's the eyes, and then Ron's the red hair. So put it together, and there you have it.
Oh, that's hilarious!
So
oh my goodness!
I was like, maybe like she subconsciously like created her mom through these people. You had Kyo with the hair. You have her friend with the gangster kind of aesthetic. Like, you know what I mean? It's like maybe this was like all like, I'm just saying. There's poor Toru is basically what I'm saying. But anyway, I do think that maybe they might think there was some foul play, that maybe it was because like they never approved of him being with her.
Right.
Then,
I think that's it, right? Like maybe that she was uneducated, and that was enough for them to be like, oh, she must be sketchy if she didn't go to school and have like a good job. Like that could have been enough for them to already peg her as this sketchy person. Yeah.
And I just wonder if like they think there was maybe foul play involved. Like maybe he died because he died. I think it was, we know that her mom died from an accident. I don't know if we know how he died.
No.
So maybe they might think like, look, it was because of her that he died. Like she got him killed. I don't know, from whatever reason it might
rude
be.
People.
Like, yeah, they might be that too. They were just like, we don't approve of you. Like, we don't consider you part of the family. Which again is further like shows how she can connect with Kyo so much, because he's going through the same thing where they don't see he's an outsider. They don't see him as part of the family. Even though, and it's interesting. I'm curious to see if will she continue, does she want to be a part of this family? Like, you know, does she want to be part of the Honda like family, like Kyo wants to be part of the Soma family? Or does she want to or is she going to be that example that where he's going to see like, look, she doesn't need that family to be happy. Like you can create your own family. And will she live by example, and like he will see that and go, oh, you know what? Like, will she be what allows him to learn that he doesn't need to force himself back in, that he could be happy just being himself and stuff?
Probably. They're already like halfway there with the mini family, right? Holding hands down the street. Yeah, it's just a matter of time.
They're already like, I guess, like they do a great job, I guess, kind of too. Like in the beginning of the episode, whenever she's like saying she's leaving, like they sort of set up that precedent. Like this is the family. She's like, oh yeah, like I've got this taken care of for you, and don't forget this and that, and like
preps.
Yeah, like the meal prepping and everything like that. And so, and like they've already kind of established that this is like a family, and maybe like it's not the traditional family, but I think that's gonna be like not just like a good influence upon like Kyo, but also Yuki too, because Yuki's trying to get away from that family, and so like it's interesting because Yuki has like this really like negative image of family, and so like this could be like by having Toru live in the house and them establishing like this cute little like family, that like it's an opportunity for him to see like, okay, like it doesn't have to be like the Somas. It can be like this.
Right.
Kind of
some families can be good, actually.
Yeah. And the same for like Toru too, because I'm sure she probably tried to connect with like her dad's side of the family, and it was just really unsuccessful. And I think a lot of like the feelings that she expresses in this episode, as she's talking about like having to move back in and like, I can't believe I thought I could be a part of the Soma family, like all of those things, I feel like they're like her previous experience with her dad's side of the family sort of coming like bubbling up in this moment for her, because it's not like she's being kicked out of the Soma house. She's like choosing to leave, but they also don't stop her. And that's probably what she might have been like looking for, is for them to say like, oh no, stay here. Like you're our family.
The thing is, I mean, that makes so much sense, but like it took me until the rewatch to realize in her head, she's like dying, right?
Yeah.
But she actually acts pretty chipper up until she gets in the new house. Like, she acts like everything is normal. She's very pleasant to them. So I don't think, like, she really gave them a good hint that she was, like, aching on the inside to stay. Which is, like, just, like, a Toru thing, right? She doesn't want to be a burden. She wants people to feel okay. She doesn't want to make herself like a big deal, but that's why it's so good that she like finally is honest twice, and that Yuki even like demands that they stay until they can confirm that it is what she wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, that I think is the most important thing. It's like, because maybe they didn't know, and it's when he stops Kyo and goes, no, wait, we have to do what she wants. And it's when she reveals that she wanted to go home, and that's when we get to this the most amazing moment of the episode.
He starts up, but he wastes no time as soon as she says those words. He's like, bam.
No time.
Yes, so swift.
Like, I went from, like, my heart breaking when she breaks down that first time and just goes, like, why didn't I say anything? I should have just I feel I'm so blessed. I shouldn't be complaining, but I want to go home to them. And then he literally, like, the most magical moment, he just leans in, and then he goes, yeah, come on home. And I screamed. I was like, I screamed. You know, for the previous like 4 episodes, I was like Team Kyo. I was like, he's great, like he's awkward, but like he's so cute, and the midriff and this and that. But let me just say,
also though, let
me just say, this is what convinced me. I was like, I am Team Yuki for the win. Like, yes, like he just the way he just was. Not only was he so smooth, but he was so smooth. And also, we didn't know up to that point, we didn't see like the whole story with them. We just saw her crying, and then suddenly he magically appears like a beautiful prince. And I'm just like, Yuki, no, stop. I shouldn't feel this way, but I do. It was so great. And his hair was like moving, like with the motion.
Her hair was moving, very anime, but it worked very well here.
Oh man, it worked so well. Who
cares if they're inside and the windows are closed? It feels perfect.
It's so perfect. But yeah, so. And then once we get to this moment, there's April mentioned this earlier, there's a very interesting switch, and the episode does something that hasn't been done yet, because the show does a lot of flashbacks, but never does it And that can be considered non-linear storytelling because it's like it goes back in time and then it fills you in on things. But flashbacks to me sometimes, at least the way they do these flashbacks usually feel more like exposition. They just feel more like they're usually there's like a voiceover and then they're just telling you information. You're seeing it visually. Mm-hmm. But with this, they do something interesting where they literally do go back in time, very brief. They go back to the moment that she leaves, and then we go like, basically it explains how did Yuki show up, and did that work for you? Did you like that? Were you a little confused because the show hasn't done this before, or were you just like, okay, were you very quick to get on board and just, and did you feel like they executed this well?
I think it took Shigure saying like, oh, well, she's gone. That was anticlimactic to be like, oh, like reorienting you. Okay, so this is like a couple hours ago or however most. Like it took like a little bit, but once he said that, I was on board. I was not confused after that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. What about you, April?
No, I thought it was like super successful, and I don't think it was jarring, and I don't remember being confused by it. Because, maybe it was a little bit confusing because you don't yet realize that you're kind of in that exact moment, because it kind of is positioned in a way that makes you think that like, oh, this is like happening elsewhere in the world kind of thing. So, but I think it was really well done. Like, I loved it.
Yeah. I found it kind of like, it just opened this new door to like what the show can do. And I was like, ooh, you're willing to do this. I'm excited. Because now it's like, oh, okay, now we can play with nonlinear storytelling a lot more. Because before it was pretty strict to just flashbacks. Now I'm like, oh, okay, let's do this. But I was just say we're also playing from like a non-Toru perspective too, which I feel like I don't know if we've seen that a whole bunch before, but like that's also very exciting because we get to know these characters outside of Toru and get like a different perspective on them. Yeah, totally. So we get this. So we basically all that happens is they go from moping to deciding to go search for Toru to they fight while they search for her and they can't find her, and then finally they find her. And I think it is really important that they listened to her break. I mean, as painful as it was, they were very good. They had to hear her say it before they acted, as I mentioned before. So yeah, Yuki shows up and there's this like annoying moment where the family
he calls
reacts,
him a babe,
and he was like a babe. But then it's like there's this babe. Like, but not only that, but then like the moment continues where he's like, "Wait, you're a boy," and then it's like throughout the rest of it, every time we just see this guy basically having like a gay panic attack.
Yeah, he's having an attraction crisis,
right? And I'm just like, okay, like. It's funny the first time, maybe the second. By the end, I'm just like, okay, you're overplaying this. Like, I don't like you, and I'm not gonna, no. So, I don't know. I felt the joke was a little dated. Maybe it stretched out for too long. That's just me. I don't know how you guys feel about that. How do you feel about that?
It was fine. Like, I feel like it's kind of nice to, like, put him in his place almost, too. Like,
right.
Like, you were a rude person. Why shouldn't you have, like, a sexuality crisis at this moment? So
plus, like, the most handsome man knocked you over by flicking your forehead. Like, clearly, he's superior to you in every way possible.
You don't deserve Yuki.
Literally flicks him and brings him to his knees. Like, that, I mean... I feel like only Yuki could do that. Of course he would.
And the way his voice changes, like he was so chipper, and then like he gets like kind of deep voice when he's like, "You don't deserve to call her Chan."
Yeah,
because you're
not close enough.
Yeah, you're not close enough. I'm like, damn, that's that new family forming, and you're not.
I was about to say that, which is like that already shows like you're an outsider to our inner family.
Yeah,
you don't deserve to call her that, and it's like. And not only that, but it's like he himself is the one who created that distance. He lost that right to call her that. So it's kind of like, I'm so glad that now Toru has people that can like literally be on her side and be like, no, you aren't part of her family. You wish you were. Yeah. And it's like, oh, it was so good and so satisfying. But something interesting. Okay, so Yuki shows up. Kyo's right behind him. Kyo is basically just like drags Toto.
He's like, all right, you're coming with me, girl.
He like grabs her head and goes, "Oh, you're coming with me." And her face throughout this entire exchange is the most adorable thing.
Mm-hmm.
She's blushing. Her eyes are either like you can't see them or they're too big. It's the greatest thing, and she's just like being like being a bumbling, like stuttering person, and then he's just like, "Come on, you're coming with me. We're not even gonna talk to him," which is also a very Kyo thing to do. Where Yuki's the one who's like,
Yuki does damage control, but Kyo just like
the negotiator, and Kyo's like, "I'm here to get it done."
Yeah, exactly. Which was like really great. But something interesting while Kyo is dragging Toto away, Toto's grandpa can't stop looking at Yuki. Like he can't. He's literally like looking at him. And I don't know what he's thinking. What is he thinking? Like
what? I don't remember.
Yeah, he wouldn't stop. Either. He literally is just kind of like it's pretty emotionless, his face, but all he's doing is looking at him and won't look away. And there are several shots of just that stay on him, just looking at him, looking up to him, and I'm just like, what is he?
He's probably thinking like, this is the family Toru deserves.
Yeah.
Or like he's at least like assessing the situation and assessing Yuki and trying to make a determined, like, I guess at the end of the day, like Toru's grandpa is technically her guardian.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he's probably also like, you know, just like from the sidelines assessing the situation and like deciding whether or not he needs to intervene at this point. Like, okay, does this like very attractive man have my granddaughter's best interests at heart? Like,
the answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. Okay, like, well, he's putting my terrible grandson in his place. Okay, I further approve of him. Like, like he's just checking off boxes inside of his head.
Yeah, I wonder. Do you think? Because I wouldn't be surprised. Do you think he said something to Yuki? Because we cut from him looking at him. We cut to Kyo and Toto, and where they're like walking back. So I'm curious. There was like a little bit of like time between them having that conversation and Yuki showing up. So I'm thinking, do you think we're gonna get a flashback where he mentioned something to Yuki?
He probably would say something just like, take good care of her, safe travels back to your house. Like
let us know how you're doing.
Yeah, how would he? Right. He would have a lot of time to talk to him, really. But I think he probably was like, all right, like she's in your guys' hands now. Mm-hmm. I
also just kind of imagined that Yuki was just gathering Toru's things because Kyo had already ushered her out the door.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna grab her stuff. Yeah. Okay, well then let's move to that kind of, it's the final like big scene of the show, which is Kyo is kind of like walking with Toru, and he mentions that they heard everything. That he said, like
poor Toru, so embarrassing,
and she's so embarrassed. Again, continues the Toru is adorable train of just like great expressions and great use of the animation. Well done. Props to the animation team over at the studio. But yeah, so he's basically, they heard everything, and he tells her basically verbatim what her mom told her. Like, he says, it's okay to be selfish sometimes. It's okay to complain. And also, he also says, like, he doesn't know why she's left him on edge.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, is that like an unintentional, like, confession without it being a confession?
No, totally.
It's 100% is.
Because he's like, what he says is like, I was so on edge when you left, and like, I don't know why, and that made me even more on edge, which is like such a way of being like, I care about you, and I'm not used to that, and that creeps me out even more.
It's so great. Oh, cute. So Toru starts to cry again and says that she wants to go home. And I just want to take a moment again, another example of the show using in the way it's telling the story, because the musical cue for that moment is A+. Like, when the song starts coming in, and it's a very anime thing. I've seen it in other animes before, where suddenly the emotional song, or maybe the ending song, starts to play, and you're getting close to, like, it tells you that the episode's about to wrap up, but it still has like the emotional resonance that still makes you want to cry, and it's just, you know, it's certain buttons that when you push them, it just hits people and makes them it's the emotional buttons that people have, and they are hitting them so head on in this episode, and I just love it so much. But yeah, so Kyo blushes when he hears her say that she wants to go home. And then he takes her hand. He takes her hand. He takes it.
He
and then
does.
says,
He holds
says,
it
come on,
so
let's go
close.
home.
He holds it.
And it's before you kind of see that Yuki was coming up behind them when he takes
With the
her
bags,
hand.
yeah.
And immediately after he takes it, Yuki goes in and takes it too. And says also, let's go home. And then they have this nice flashback back to the Fruits Basket game where Toru's finally picked, but it's by these two boys who are outstretching their hands to baby Toru, who's always adorable. And it's just, and then Toru, in voiceover, is just she's the luckiest person in the world. And then you
finally got picked. She finally got picked.
And just the visual of them walking home with her holding hands with both of them, I will say one thing, just visually, let's break it down. She is the link that between them. She's gonna be what forges the bridge between the rat and the cat. You guys, this is happening. It's gonna be so great. I'm so
Visual
excited.
writing's on the wall now.
But
foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Oh my god. And I also want to note that something that is really interesting and I really like is how throughout the show we see Yuki being the show always tells us the rat is always ahead of the cat. There's Yuki's always several steps ahead of Kyo. He will always surpass him. But we see these moments, and this is a clear example where it's not necessarily true. Kyo was the one who grabbed her hand. He was the one who made those steps and had that basically almost confession. He's in a lot of the ways, and a lot of times when it is with Toru involved, he's the one who's several steps ahead of Yuki. So I'm just this love triangle, where's it gonna go? I don't know, but I'm excited.
It's coming and it's gonna hit us hard, like a train.
Man. Oh man, you want to root for Kyo, but also come on, you can't be Team Yuki. You can't not be Team Yuki after that episode. You can't not. It's impossible. It is physically impossible. I will break out in hives if I switch back.
You're gonna have an
I know what
allergic
you
reaction.
mean because Yuki is the most charming and he's a dream boy, right? That's what he is. But Kyo has the card where he's more relatable, and he's the one who reminds Toru of her mom. How can that not win in the end? And he has red hair just like her mom. I mean, there's a lot of evidence.
Slightly more connection to Kyo than Yuki. I mean, at this point, and maybe it'll change the further we go. And it kind of seems like they may be doing that, especially because at the end, they have the whole part where Shigure is calling Yuki out and everything like that, and so it just seems. I know.
Yuki blushing's very satisfying. We don't get to see that often.
No. And just stuttering, being no, I'm not. No, I wasn't. And I'm
and then Kyo joins in too, and he's yes, you were.
Yeah. And
he has to fight him, of course.
And what was the best reaction? It was just him just no, you were, and then kicks him in the face, which I'm that is the most Yuki thing. Again, I love how Yuki, yes, he is the pretty boy, the dream boy. But at the same time, it's but when he's with Kyo, he shows this other side that is so anti-dream boy because he's just cocky
he's normal.
and he's normal. Kyo humanizes him, which I think it's just gonna be again, it's I don't think he realizes just how important Kyo is to him and just how important how much that dynamic is helping himself break out of this idea of who he should be. And I don't know, I feel at the moment he's taking Kyo for granted, but we're soon, maybe not soon, but I hope eventually not that they'll ever stop fighting, because I don't think they'll ever stop fighting. But I think
it's gotta get better, right?
But it's gonna get better.
It'll get better. It just is gonna be it's never gonna disappear.
Yeah, I think it's just that they're gonna have an appreciation for each other. Whereas now they take both of each other for granted. I think later on there's gonna be an appreciation where they're still gonna fight, but now they're just gonna be but also if anyone messes with him, they're gonna be kind of siblings, where it's they're always gonna fight, but if someone messes with the other, they're I got your back.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. And also the episode ends with Toru finally calling them like her new family, which is, again, brings us full circle of like before, where she starts out thinking, oh, I knew that how silly was I to think that I could ever be a part of this family. And it ends with her being a part of the family. So it's like a lot of like emotional narrative arcs are happening, and it happens so efficiently that it's so refreshing. It is such a good show. It's so good. But yeah, so that's the episode. Yeah.
Before we close, one thing I did want to touch on was like the crying. Just because, like, I feel like it definitely hit all three of us, right?
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about it, and I feel like Toru cried for different reasons each time. I feel like the first time, it was the stress of the situation. It was the reluctance to be honest about what she wanted and to feel like a burden, and that you're like, this is technically my family, and they're doing this gracious thing, even though they suck, and I don't have a right to want something else. Mm-hmm. Whereas the second time, she's crying out of relief. She feels comfortable being honest with Kyo that this is what she wants. And I think like that relief is like one of the most satisfying things, is like her like feeling good about being honest and vocalizing it. It's just like, that's so good.
And also just knowing that her honesty is going to be accepted too.
Yeah, because Kyo said the whole, like, it's okay. Like, he says the same thing as her mom. Like, he's on her side, and he's like, it would piss me off, if somebody, like, was like that every day. But you're never like that, so feel free. He gave her the space to say it for real.
Yeah. And not only that, but, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, too, like, it also shows, like, because, like, being able to be, like, honest like that with any one person takes, like, a lot of, like, being comfortable with your vulnerability, too. And for her to, like, be like that comfortable in a vulnerable state with Kyo, like, it also says a lot about the connection between them too. Yeah. And so I wonder if like that's another thing too, is that maybe she previously, and I mean just like not with Kyo but like with everyone, she's not ever felt that comfortable.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, like
she's never been that honest about the actual troubles in her life. Nobody knew she was in that tent, not even her friends. Yeah. It's a big step for her.
Well, in defense, like on the Team Yuki train, who else is like struggles to be 100% honest and that's super vulnerable? Like they share these parallels. Absolutely. So like Kyo is very much himself. Like he knows, like he just is. Whereas he's
Yuki, very honest.
Yeah. There are some parallels between Toru and Yuki that could create another bond. Another bond. I'm just saying.
That's a good point. Yay, Team Yuki lives on.
I feel like we all support both Team Yuki and Team Kyo. Like we have reversible shirts for the situation.
Basically, like I would just be happy if it just continues to be her holding both her hands. Like I'm like, I'm down
just
for
walk
that
to
too.
School like that every day, and then walk home from school like that. Like that would make me so happy. No one ever
gets married. There's just these three friends that are closer than anyone in the world. Yeah, and look out for each other. It'd be so good.
Yeah. I will say another thing, just very briefly, to talk about that moment where she does break down in front of Kyo. Like, I feel like the fact that he says the same thing as her mom is also, not only is there like emotional relief over her finally admitting what she wants, but I think there's also a kind of a relief in finding someone else like that. Someone else like her mom.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having people now that are like, that will be the mother, like that will be what's been absent in her life, which is her parents, which is her mom, more so her mom than her dad. Because, you had Yuki let's go home, like, and defending her. And then you have Kyo being like, hey, like, it's okay. And saying exactly the same thing her mom did. And I think it's just, that hole that was left in her, I don't think it will be ever fully filled because it's impossible to fill it. But I think to make room for other people who can give her that support, I think that was, the moment that she really did realize that. And also it makes me also very sad for her friends, because it's like they could have offered that to her too. She just wasn't open with them, and it makes me so sad. But they're a great couple. They have each other, so it's fine. But yeah, so any closing thoughts about this episode before we go?
I'm very curious to see, well, I mean, it's not necessarily about this episode, but I'm very curious to see where we go next episode.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I love and hate previews, like at the end of any show. Because sometimes I'm like, yes, I want to know what's going on. And then sometimes I'm like, I don't want to know. But in this instance, I'm like, okay, where do we go from here? Like, how does this show get better?
Well, it seemed like they're maybe going to visit the main house or something.
Really?
Possibly the main Soma house.
My guess is that
was the impression I got.
My guess is that her friends are going to come over.
Oh,
right.
You could get what you want then, Beatrice. Maybe she's gonna
Yeah.
have some real talks with her lady friends now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think that's going to be another like big thing too. Is that maybe like we won't necessarily like maybe we'll kind of go to the big house too, because like I feel like they're still like she's probably obviously still keeping it from like her friends that she's not staying with the Somas.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like at a certain point they're gonna like find out, or maybe like this is the episode where they find out, and they're like, "What? We want to see where these like fools live, like, because who wouldn't?"
Oh, you know what would suck would be like if like it was revealed at school to everyone, and that's gonna cause drama
By the mean girls.
Yeah,
Oh,
and just everyone starts having like and you know, because of how society is, the boys aren't going to experience the rumors, but Toru's going to hear the rumors, and it's all going to be about Toru and not like them. And it's going to be like, "Oh, she's a bleep or a bleep." And it's like, "No, she's not." And it's like, you know, but people are mean even in school and all that.
I think the only ones who are probably really going to be mean to her are going to be the Prince
The mean
Yuki
girls.
fan club.
Yeah.
Because those girls suck. They're the worst.
I still think it's so funny that they have this mantra where they're like that one of the top rules in the fan club is you can't ever be friends
With
I
him.
know, that's like the
So
crazy.
silly.
It is. It really is.
Well, that's a whole nother level of crazy.
It is.
Yes.
It is. Like poor
But
Yuki.
I feel like with her friends finding out too, that's gonna add another layer of like the drama with like Aikido and stuff. Because like I feel like
Oh, you think
I
they're
said
going to
one
find out about the
person.
secret?
Yeah, not more girls. We can't have all these girls visiting.
yeah,
the house.
well, but I
Gotcha.
feel like it's one of those things too, because maybe like they were like, oh, well, we don't want you. Well, because Yuki even said he's like, well, don't tell like you haven't told your friends, right? Because like if you tell them, then like if Aikido decides to like I guess like mind control you or whatever, hypnotize you, then like they'll have to do it to like them too. And so it's
Right.
kind of like this like butterfly effect kind of thing. And so I wonder if like now she finally gets permission that she can tell her friends because
Yeah.
like she is accepted in this household.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Do you guys think that we're going to get more like kind of maybe like, you know, if her mom did have a sketchy past, do you think we're going to get some like, because they just introduced that this episode. Are we going to get more fallout from that? Maybe like say like, I don't know if she was like in a gang, suddenly like what if like a rival gang suddenly shows up and then like Kyo and Yuki have to
my
use their
God.
skills to fight the gang. I don't know.
This sounds
Oh, man.
amazing.
That
First
would sound
off,
like a really good side episode for
I was
sure.
like, this sounds like a great spin-off like series. Like,
And then,
I
you
would
know, and
watch
then her
it.
friend, like, takes over the gang that was left behind by the mom, and she's like, "Don't worry, we got you, Toru. Like, we're here for you." Say.
Yeah. And they give her a
Invite the-
jacket.
jacket. It's totally gonna
Yes!
be like Riverdale style.
Oh my god, yes. It writes itself, y'all. It's great.
It doesn't really write itself. We're just stealing.
We can help write
No.
it for them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We'll steal
Yeah.
ideas from other shows for them.
yeah, it'll be
Yes.
fine. It'll be fine. But yeah, okay. Well, Michelle, do you have any closing thoughts? Did you give any?
We have to talk about Kyo having the best joke the whole episode when he tries to shout his way.
Yes.
The framing and the way he screams, and then Yuki like
Excuse me.
immediately pushes him on the ground. It's so funny.
Like, of course he would also. Like, look, he lived, like, he went to the mountains to train. Like, maybe his master was, like, far away, and he had to, like,
He had to
scream,
yell down
like,
mountains.
excuse me. Yeah, you know, like, what, you know, it's cute. Like, we have
His
to.
logic makes sense. He's like, oh, they probably can't hear you. Hang on, give me a
Just
second.
Scream louder.
Excuse me.
It is. Yeah, that was, it really is, like, the best moment. I think that was the funniest moment of the episode.
Oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I really appreciated that Kyo was like, he's like, like looking around, and Shigure's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm looking for nail clippers. Like,
Yeah.
and then he's like, hey, and then Shigure's like, if you're looking for that note, like Yuki already took it. Like, Like, he already knows.
Yeah. I mean, Shigure, I think, was very, like, because there's that moment where Yuki kind of looks at Shigure and looks back at the note, then looks at Shigure and then just kind of slyly takes it. And I'm just like, and Shigure just kind of, like, smiles behind the newspaper. And
Like,
he's
see you when you get back.
Not only that, but he was just like, he totally intentionally just left it there for them.
Yeah.
He was just like, I'm just going to wait and see what they do.
And we'll leave it right on the front table.
Yeah. So yeah, and one more thing. I like how he was like, look, just come in, just join us in our family, because if you don't, then all this stuff that they did for you would have been in vain. I love this Shigure's logic. He's like, it's fine, don't worry about it.
Guilt trip her. If she feels like a burden for leaving, she'll have to stay forever. He knows how to be.
Exactly. But yeah, that does it for us. You can find out all the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord to text chat about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Sagittarius, aka Buzz Lightyear. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatriz, Hugh, and Michael. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.